was going to bring it up today regarding our whole Kings Park situation, regarding all the different LI, HI, residential, and all the problems over there. But without the supervisor being here, I think 5 people should be there. You know, my idea was, like he had did in the past on the Nissaquag, not Nissaquag, but the old Kings Park State Hospital property, some sort of panel of, you know, residents, business people, and government employees, and give them a time frame of 6 months to come up with a plan that they can all agree upon. Because if we just leave it in the political realm, nothing's ever going to get agreed upon.
Well, I absolutely agree with that. I think that's something that should be done.
So we can talk about it when he comes back. And just wanted to touch base on it because I'm getting a lot of calls. And I think that's the best way to go. You know, everybody's not going to. You know,
something that should be done.
Everybody's not going to agree. If you put maybe a group of 5 residential community, the civics, 5 of your, you know, business people, and 5 governmental employees.
You're going to create a task force of some sort, and what are they going to be
come up with what they can all agree upon. Get to a certain point where at least you know what they agree upon, what they want to see there.
As far as Kings Park?
Yeah. You know, everything, you know, was it Lawrence to Lawrence Road, and the whole corridor over there. But we got to start somewhere. It's time. I think we've all heard it's time. Everybody, we've heard it loud and clear. And I think a task force would be the first way to go, because it's totally non-political and it puts the people that have to live with it on a day-by-day basis. You know,
one of the things you're going to have to watch out for is you got to keep it non-political.
Absolutely, I agree.
And if you put certain people on that panel, it will never ever work. And I think you know what I'm talking about.
Well, it's going to get to a point. It's either they're going to have to work to any good negotiation. Not everybody's 100% happy, but everybody can come away, you know, reasonable.
I want to be. I'll be more specific. If you put either Eddie or Rye on that panel. Yeah.
No, I would think no elected official. I think you know, like a Russ Barnett type of person, a David Flynn.
I think you should do it and do it.
You know, and let them come back to the board after they meet and give them a timeline of you know 30 days to come up with a panel that we can look at, and then 6 months to come back with an advisory report, and then we can move forward and get this mess that's over there finally straightened out once and for all.
That's a good idea.
Tom, do you do this by legislation? Do you have a piece of legislation at the board meeting and it says you'll choose 5 from the civics or a supervisor has it? I don't know how you do it here. Do you choose? We have 5, we choose. Russ Barnett has 5. I'm just throwing it out there to start thinking about suggestions from the town board, or you want to wait on that? What do you want to do?
It's everybody's.
I mean, I just think if you feel that it's been so long, maybe we should at least start the ball rolling as far as suggestions of how many you want on there, or how many we want on there. Or do you want to wait for a month, or what do you want to do?
I personally, my own feeling was 5 governmental officials, non-elected, nobody elected, governmental officials from the different departments that handle this. You know, 5 from the business community and 5 from the residential community / civic groups.
So 15 on the committee.
Yeah, and you know.
How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea if we can put it together. You need, as Tom said, you need the civic associations, you need the property owners, and you need these departments. I would just, my confusion about the area is, while we're speaking about this, there are plans coming out of the planning department for a 200-unit residential golf course community. So all I would ask, if we're going to put our town government officials on the task force, that they are directed to make sure that everybody knows what's going on. I mean, one application's in, one is not. I see there's some correspondence from a planning department today about the athletic facility that Suspect Sports wants to build, and it may require a code change. So all of that, I believe, has to come to the table here if we're going to do it. If we're going to have the task force, and I'm all for that. I think Tom's on to the right track, that we need to have everybody involved that's in that vicinity come up with an answer, and he's right. Everyone won't be happy, but everybody's going to have to give a little to get what we want to clean the entire area up, which is the goal. But our people have to understand planning, environment, etc. They have to divulge what's going on down there, because, like I said, we're trying to put a task force together. They're accepting applications to do all kinds of spot development. To my mind, that doesn't work, because there'll be somebody down there that doesn't want the sports facility because of the lights and the noise. And so, that all has to be done. I think if we're going to do it, we should do that first. Put these other things on hold, not necessarily prospect. I think that has to be a good project, but going forward all the way west on Northport, I think that's what has to happen.
Just a question, again, because I'm not sure, when people go into the planning department with these projects, is that, for lack of a better word, is that like a secret thing, or is that a public, if a plan goes into the planning department, is that releasable to the public, or is there any type of town regulation as far as it stays there until it goes into maybe perhaps the Board of Zoning Appeals?
Some cases because of confidentiality rules with people buying properties, etc., it stays there.
It stays there.
Certain instances.
Okay.
Once a plan is submitted, then it's public
Once the
record.
plan's submitted, it's public. But when
Once
they first walk in to speak to
the
them,
planning department, it's public.
When they first walk in to speak to them, they may have some confidentiality. What I'm offering here is that the department personnel have to understand that they're going to have to bring this to the board, because to sit while that task force, if in fact it went in place, while
And if
they're
they don't know what's
negotiating,
going on.
and they're already putting a 200-unit residential golf course community down there. Well, then what do we do?
Well, the first thing would be is get an active list of active applications that are,
Correct.
I think you're right. They have to know about it. But I also think if you want to do the task force, make a date certain and bring in the names and let's do it.
You have to get started, and you have to pick the people. And to me, the logical person to pick the people is the supervisor. And then pick the people in conjunction with you or whatever he wants to do. Pick the people to be on the committee. Come up with the committee. Begin.
I'm sure that's what he did in the Nisqually River.
Right. I'm relatively sure if the supervisor reaches out to these 3 segments, and he can assign the town personnel, I'm sure the property owners are more than happy to put representatives on that task force, as is the civic groups. And you have 3 civic groups, so they would all have to take part in it.
I think 15 people are going to be an issue.
Finally, when the supervisor returns, I think if he reaches out and puts it together, it's something that can be done, and then we ought to let that committee begin their deliberations before we go entertain all kinds of activity.
So should we pick some type of a target date to start this, rather than just say, what do you want to do?
I think the supervisor needs to be involved, so when he gets back, let him know what went on today. And I think the 20th, I think it is off the top of my head.
The 20th?
Yeah.
That's not so bad.
It's going to take a little while.
Yeah, no, that's
to put
not
it
so
together.
bad. Just, I'm very impatient.
Yeah.